Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Scott, and I'm the Global Community Manager for NASA's International Space Apps Challenge. This weekend is our COVID-19 challenge, where we are really pushing people to create solutions to COVID-19 related problems. And there is a lot that's happening this weekend that is really impactful, but also really inspirational, which leads me to introduce my interviewee today and our guest today, who is winner of the 2019 Global Most Inspirational Award at Space Apps. Liv, thank you for joining us on
Hi.
Team StarStruck from Space Apps Huntsville.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And just to start out, it would be amazing if you could introduce yourself and just talk about how, first and foremost, how you got involved in Space Apps.
Yeah. All right. So my name's Liv. I'm a college student studying computer science and game design. And I started a student chapter of the Association of Computing Machinery at my university in 2018. And I really wanted to encourage students to get involved in hackathons, and then Space Apps happened, and it was just a great opportunity to get people involved in our student chapter. And I competed with the team, had a really great time, and wanted to come back to win the whole thing next year. And then we did, which was cool. So.
Ask something that I wonder. So I actually was able to go to Space Apps in 2018 in Huntsville. Were you there?
Yeah, we actually won one of the team awards. I have it on my. It was best use of creativity is what we won.
I have lots of awards lined up, but the thing that was so amazing for me about going to the Huntsville event is that I learned a lot about Huntsville and its relationship with NASA and deep history with space. It's known as the Rocket City, of course. And so one thing I would just want to ask about is, like, does being from Huntsville, like, impact your path in any way, or has it impacted your path? Because I heard that there are a lot of engineers and a lot of scientists.
Yeah, so I have had an interesting life journey thus far. I'm from Chicago, and I did game design. I went to the Art Institute of Chicago for school, and I decided I wanted to do game design and get involved in space. And I decided to go to school here because space is here. Space is Huntsville. And I've had some really amazing opportunities because of it. I got to teach robotics for a while, and I actually interned at Boeing last year and got to work on some aerospace applications and game dev. So Huntsville is just full of a love for space, and it's a really great place to get involved if you want to help kind of move us on to human exploration. Huntsville's a great place for that, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of getting involved though, could we just start out by you explaining what was that experience for you, just getting involved in Space Apps, but particularly I'm thinking of 2019 when you formed Team StarStruck. What was, just in short, what was that process to developing that, and who was on your team for Team StarStruck?
Yeah, okay, so let me talk about my team. We all go to school together. We're all best friends and computer science majors, which is hilarious. So we're all just super nerds, and we love game design. So we saw the challenge, Build a Planet, thought it was really funny to take a weekend to build a solar system. So we decided to go along with that challenge and get started. It was kind of a no-brainer to choose because it was game design, and one of my friends, Corey, my teammates are Corey, Tristan, and Eric. Corey loves astrophysics, and so he was able to kind of guide us along to all the science that we don't know and get us started there.
Great. And so what is StarStruck, or at least I should say, what was StarStruck as you ended up pitching it at the hackathon?
Yeah, okay. So StarStruck, my team and I, we are still StarStruck. It's a really great joke that we did this intro where we say, "Hi, we're Team StarStruck," and we did the take so many times. And we did it for the Globals video too, and so we just say it all the time now, and it's annoying but great. And so we made the game Planet is the the joke is that it's plan and then it. That's the pun. So, you know, when we were up there presenting, it was just really easy because we're all best friends and just really excited about what we actually got to make. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing to hear. And, you know, I know that people are watching and thinking about their own space apps projects right now. When this video comes out, they'll be, you know, planning on submitting their projects. So could you talk about just that part of the hackathon and what it's like? I know from my perspective on the global organizing team at Space Apps events, you know, sometime between, like, I would say Saturday afternoon of the hackathon and then like Sunday at noon, it's really quiet, but everyone, there's so much happening because everyone is intensely focused on their solutions. So what was that like for you, particularly on Sunday as you approached the end of the hackathon?
Yeah, so Sunday morning around like 6 a.m. is when you really start to feel like the sweat, right? You start to get a little nervous. Planet is the game that we built was an educational game, and we had a lot of goals that we wanted to hit. You know, we had a really big whiteboard, kind of like this one, just full of all the things that we wanted, trying to check off all the boxes. And when it gets really down to the wire is when you start having to cross things off, as in, we don't have time for that. So some tips for other teams would be sit down, take a deep breath, maybe push the coffee away for just like 2 seconds because you're probably very caffeinated at this point. And just make sure that you guys have all of the necessary components that you need before you get into the nitty-gritty special wants. Because essentially, you know, this challenge isn't about making a full-fledged, fully working project in a couple hours. Everyone knows that's impossible to have a very polished piece. So the main thing that you want to focus on as you finish your project is getting it to a place that's either a really great proof of concept or a minimal viable product, right? So whatever is the solution that you were trying to achieve, make sure that you as a team all feel good about the solution that you've come up with for your problem and how you kind of can wrap a little bow around it, but it doesn't have to be a perfect bow. Just make sure that you put your all into it. Take a deep breath, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to convey is how you could solve it and how you could keep working at it in the future. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, thinking of that bow that you put on it, so to speak, there's the presentations that happen once you've developed your solution, and I think it's at the Space and Rocket Center where you're getting ready to present. And so could you just talk about what that piece was like? Not to spoil your journey, but I know that I know that during the judging and awards, as seen in the YouTube video that you released recently, that you almost thought that you weren't going to advance and be one.
Indeed.
So what was that, that whole experience between presenting and then of course becoming one of the local winners like for you?
Yeah, so when you're sleep deprived, your emotions are a little all over the place. So I was like, we're not going to win. And my whole team was like, we're going to win. We got this. So we were all sitting there waiting to be called, maybe. And we weren't called. And I was like, I knew it. And then we were. This is very nerve-wracking. So the problem was we had not prepared to present. Don't be like us. You can be like StarStruck. We did win. But don't be like that portion. So I would recommend writing your speech on the notes app of your phone before you wait to go up to present, so that you're not pacing around and whispering to your friends, like, what are we going to say? But obviously because these presentations are going to be virtual, you guys have a lot more wiggle room for how you can kind of get this thing along. So make a Google Doc, throw whatever it is that you feel like you want to say in there, tag people's names on it, and then you can just kind of read through it for your presentation and get it out there. We had a very live presentation with a short amount of time. So at the end, we were really trying to rush through it and just get our idea out there and convey, you're so excited about what you've made, which is really great. And you want to talk about all the features that you put in, but with such a short amount of time, you really have to focus on how did we solve the problem and how is our solution kind of encompassing what we want to convey. And it might not be talking about all the individual features that you made. It might be talking about your intent as a team, and how you're trying to solve something that feels unsolvable in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear more of those tips and just continue down that thread, because you mentioned, typing up your presentation in your
Right.
notes app, and again, the last time I'll reference your latest video as a winner that you shared on YouTube, but you even have the benefit as someone watching that video to see you in the moment doing that, just because I know that space and
Yeah, a
so
lot
many
of cameras.
around. And so how do you have any, if knowing what you know now, how would you have done things differently, or what tips would you have for people who are either presenting or in general telling the story of their project? Because for the COVID hackathon, it's going to be a lot of videos and slides and screenshots that people share.
Yeah. So when it gets down to it, because you've spent so much time together all working on one project, you guys know what the project is, you know what the problem is, and you know exactly what you use to solve it. Be it software, a game that you've created, you know all the nuances. The thing to remember is that your audience doesn't. They don't know who you are and they don't know what you did. So, if you have a short amount of time to convey an idea, you have to make sure that you get down to the facts of what you find is important. And it might not be important to mention, we built this in JavaScript. That might not really mean anything to anybody, and that's okay, even if it means a lot to you as a developer. So, getting down to those goals that you as a team wanted to accomplish, and then what you did accomplish. But also, presenting isn't just about, the facts of what you made. It's about the emotion behind them. So, right now we're all stuck inside and panicking a little bit. And this challenge is a really great way to have us all come together globally and try to find some fixes, right? And so don't be afraid to talk about that, about, what you guys are going through and how these solutions might even help you in your situation.
Yeah.
That's a really great platform for that.
Yeah, the story that you're telling, I think, is a really powerful one for any solution. And that might be in writing, that might be video, that might be over social media as you're working on your project. But just in following up, I think it'd be great to get into just what your experience has been since the hackathon, and how first and foremost, I'd love to hear, of course, what it was like to become a global finalist and global winner, because that also, I'm sure, wasn't, you maybe didn't know that would happen. Yeah. So could you talk about that, but then also just what impact it's had on you to be a global winner since you won last October?
Yeah. All right. So when we won locally, that was amazing. We were so excited because, during the hackathon, we looked at all the other teams and we got to meet all these really great people that traveled really far. And they're all fantastic. So, to be chosen out of all of those great solutions was crazy. And, obviously we looked at all the globals teams and a lot of teams that did our solution, Build a Planet. And there's this really great team, I think in Taiwan, that we were like, oh, they're so gonna win. They're so cool. Their video is better than ours, and man, they made an awesome game, which is cool because you get to feel close to these other teams and places that I've never been. I'll probably never meet these people, but they're awesome, and that's great to see. So I remember we waited a long time to see if we won. I think it was announced in January of this year. I was returning my textbooks in a Staples to the FedEx thing, and I suddenly had all these text messages, and I checked my phone. It was all my teammates being like, "Oh my gosh, we won!" And I was like, "We did? That's so cool!" Very unexpected, of course. We're just so honored to be a part of something so big. When you're in college, you feel very isolated sometimes, and it's so wonderful to get to see these people and make these friends, and just like such faraway places. It makes the world feel a lot smaller and just really special. Yeah, so since then, I've been working. I was interning at Boeing at the time when I was doing the hackathon. So hi to my Boeing team. Hope you guys are doing good. I was doing game design for aerospace applications, and now I'm working while I'm in school, and still working on some aerospace stuff at a government contracting company. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. And as a follow-up, has the are you any different now that that you've won Space Apps as a global winner, or has anything shifted for you since receiving that recognition, or really earning that recognition?
It has actually. So there's a funny thing, being a woman in computer science and game design is a little weird. Sometimes people want to tell you no, and you might not feel like you fit in there. But having the validation of winning a global competition, doing something that you love, feels like the world's really telling you yes, which is nice to hear. So I'm really excited to graduate and maybe get to work with NASA, and just keep doing game design. And it's really great that I feel like I can encourage other people. Like, if you feel like you can't do it, you probably can, which is great. So it's
Yeah.
nice.
And the thing that's also interesting and worth noting is that your journey as a global winner is really just starting. I mean, there are so many other pieces. There is still a trip to a launch with NASA, which will come up as soon as it's safe to travel again. I'm sure the COVID-19 winners will also, the COVID-19 challenge winners will also have a similar experience too. And so I know that they could be looking forward to it, even though, to your point, and a theme I've heard from every single winner I've talked with is that no one is expecting it. So
No.
it is just on that note though of not expecting it. Is there any advice that you would give to the community, just to like assuming that I think everyone has a chance to become a global winner, everyone who's participating. Yes. You could develop a solution that resonates with NASA, with the people who developed the solution, with the judges. But do you have any advice for people just as they're on that journey to hopefully become a global winner?
Yeah, I do. So in between my first NASA competition and my second, something that we did differently as a team is we kind of tried to include a little bit of who we are in our project. So, not only are you, looking at a solution to, this educational game that we're building, but you also kind of get to meet us and see who we are as people and what we're excited about. So I encourage people to not be afraid to kind of put yourself into your project, your passions. A lot of these projects for COVID-19 challenges are really open-ended, which is amazing because, if there's something that you're really passionate about that you feel works in the solution, you can bring that in and bring in a little bit of yourself. So don't be afraid to open up a bit while you're trying to work on solutions that are huge and world-changing, because people want to know who you are if, they're looking at what you made.
Yeah, and between everything that you've shared so far, I think there's a great lesson that, number one, like this hackathon weekend, you're just developing a prototype. Like it doesn't need to be a fully developed, fully functional solution. And then the other piece of that is that once you have that prototype or that solution, that project developed, you don't need to focus on going through all of the the tech specifications. And I think, thinking about a project page, you could add in all that information one way or the other and include it somehow. But, more than anything, it's so important how you frame what you're doing. And it's so important how you tell the story of your work, because that's what people see, and that's what people gravitate to naturally. And that will also help you stand out and make you unique if it's your own unique story. So there are a lot of great tips there. But is there, just looking ahead on your journey and to your story, is there anything in particular that you want to accomplish? And you know, it would be good to hear that vision that you have for your future. No.
Yeah. No pressure, right? Well, I'm about to graduate from school, which I'm very excited about. And with that, kind of start my career. And I've been kind of hurtling towards game design since the start. It's something that I feel really passionately about. But what's really exciting about game design is that it's not just for entertainment. We're seeing a lot of really exciting applications of game design in aerospace, because having the ability to create something that's interactive really engages the user and gives a whole new understanding to what it is you're trying to convey. You know, if you're looking for safety standards or the animation of a launch or the animation of a docking system, game development is really the place where you want to be to make all of that come together, you know, virtually. So that's something I'm very excited about, and I'd really love to work with NASA. This has really encouraged me to try and reach out to them. I always felt like NASA was very far away, and very, obviously NASA is prestigious and awesome and just this really fantastic community. But now I feel like I get to be a part of it a bit, and that's really exciting. So,
And I think
yeah.
that the cool thing is that you, in a way, of course, have already worked with NASA by being part of space apps a couple of times, and you've been exposed to that. And then I also know with the Huntsville event, in my experience, you know, and you reference this, but there are people who are, you know, coming to the event. NASA Marshall is located there. Yep. In Huntsville, and so there are also experts there who literally aren't too far away from you. But you know, there are a lot of people who want to work for NASA, and it's cool that through space apps we're able to create that opportunity for people to at least have a little part of it. And hopefully, because you're wearing a NASA shirt, you have NASA logos and space apps, you know, surrounding you. And you know, I hope that you have that chance. But just as we sort of wrap up, I would love if there's any, are there any tips or any pieces of advice otherwise that you want to share with the participants?
Yeah. So I think as a participant, this is going to go by really fast, right? You only have a couple hours and you're trying to get so many things done in such a short amount of time. But you only do so many of these hackathons in your life, you know? You only do so many game jams and challenges. So don't forget to savor it and have some fun. Because even though this is a rough time, right? We're trying to make light of it and provide these opportunities for people to come together and to get to know each other. So, you know, try and reach out to maybe other participants, people that you don't know on social media. It's a great way to get involved in your global community, and we can all just kind of be there together.
I couldn't have said it better myself, but thanks again, Liv, and I'll let you close us out with any final words of wisdom or anything that you want to share just as we wrap up.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. This has been really fun. I've been having a lot of people just hang out virtually with me in my bedroom lately, so welcome. And thanks to everyone who's participating in this COVID-19 challenge. You guys are the people that are going to help us get through this and find solutions and find ways to just communicate with each other and make the world feel a little bit smaller and more together. So thanks to everyone who's participating, and I wish you guys all the best of luck. So let's go.